Usually when we are making videos, we are making the videos after we harvest. So this time I thought we would make a video before we harvested, so you could just see all the pretty mushrooms that are ready to be picked. Welcome to another quick update of the grow setup. So if you have wondered how it is operating your own mushroom farm, today we are giving you some sneak peeks about how it is to operate a farm like this. We are growing everything in vertical grow setups in a container system. So basically this is all the new bags that we just put into the system and the container. These we are ready for pinning. We got some lion's mane as well. This is some of the yellow oyster. We were doing the same recipe as we're doing with the Spapo. It didn't work, so we didn't get good yields and they started going bad really fast. But as you can see here, we got a lot of second harvests going on. We're gonna do the second flush and then we are gonna take the bags, we're gonna change them and then we're gonna exchange this as well. You can see we got some nice pinning here, but some of the bags, they got some very cold temperatures, so the pinning that already happened after they went frozen, they died. That's not that nice. So basically, yeah, we are moving on with the lion's mane as well. So in the room here, we got some nice growth going on the lion's mane. We are about to get upwards of 500 grams per bag now. This lion's mane mushroom, as you can see, it's growing a bit weird. And the reason why is because of the climate and we're not sure if it was the recipe, but we are probably sure that it's the climate. The climate was not optimal, so they started growing very weird. But we fixed the climate, so we fixed that it was okay still. We're still getting some contamination issues on the lion's mane bags with the juice that's coming out of it. We don't know why it's coming, but it's still here. This is a lion's mane bag we recently harvested on. We see some new growth coming out, but it's a bit contaminated, I can see, so we don't like that. But yeah, this, as you can see here as well, this oyster doesn't grow properly, so we are figuring why this is happening and what we can do to prevent it. If anyone out there know what it could be, then please let us know in the comment field, because we don't know how to solve it and it's a bit annoying for us to keep working on it. So if you have the solution for it, please let us know what it can be. As you can see here, we're still doing some of the second flushes on the bags. This is the last flushes we are gonna get from this side. So in half a week, we are taking all the bags, throwing them out, putting them in the compost pile, and then we're gonna make a whole new row. So the row here is not properly made because the distance between all the layers are not the same. So we need to redo that. And in that sense, we can have as many bags as possible in here because there's a lot of free room that we are not getting anything out of. And if we can manage to make sure that the climate is on point, then we can add more bags inside the room. But if we can't get the climate on point, then it doesn't matter if we are adding more, because we are ruining the yield by putting too many bags in if the climate is not on point. Recently we discovered that inside the third container there was a bit difference in the climate. Even though we're putting the same amount of air and the same amount of moisture in the third container, the climate from the third and the second container is still different. So we learned that it's very important to keep a uniform amount of climate, and we're still working on getting that solved. We also just figured that usually when we're making videos, we are making the videos after we harvest. So this time I thought we would make a video before we harvested, so you could just see all the pretty mushrooms that are ready to be picked. And the difference between our oyster mushrooms and an oyster mushroom that people can get from Poland or from the Netherlands is usually the quality, because we are harvesting it the day before we are delivering. And if you are buying mushrooms from Poland, they are going to be harvested and then they're going to be transported they're gonna be in stock. So usually it's about 5 days after harvest that you get, as a client or a customer, you get the mushrooms. At that point, they're usually very wet and they are not nice to work with. So this is a huge difference in what we can do here. We can make oyster mushrooms that when we take them and we squeeze them, we can't really get any water out of them. Maybe like a tiny drop comes out, but that's it. And it's a big difference in if you have a too humid climate, then the mushrooms will be just very, very heavy, but there's gonna be filled with water in it, and they're not gonna be as tasteful as if you lower the humidity a bit. In the back here, I have something very interesting to show you. This is the lion's mane that we are keep testing. As you can see here, we're starting to get some really nice looking mushrooms with some weight and some really good weight on it. So as you see here, some of the bags are about 1/2 kilo of the lion's mane. We are trying to figure out what is the difference between a bag that only gives 100 gram and a bag that gives 500 gram. If you know the answer, please let us know, because we are not sure if it's the amount of mycelium we're putting in, if the recipe is not the proper recipe. We're still getting the juice on some of the bags. As you see here, it's really, really contaminating, and we are trying to figure how to keep this out of the room, because it's not very, very good. So if you have ever tried growing lion's mane and have some tips for us, let us know in the comment, and we will, hopefully we can learn some and keep expanding our knowledge base and keep getting better and better at growing the mushrooms that we're growing. In this bag, for example, the oyster mushroom has started growing in the bottom, as you see. And the holes we usually put in the top when we are flipping the bag around, because this is where most of the humidity is. So if we lift it a bit, you can see the mushrooms growing here. It's coming out. And this is probably gonna be a few very big mushrooms, because a lot of the energy is gonna be compounded inside a few mushrooms only. This is a great example that, as you can see here, we have a lot of pins. So this is gonna get to be a nice cluster. Instead of just a few mushrooms, it's gonna be a whole cluster of mushrooms growing out of it. Just to show you how well it's going with our lion's mane, you can see here we are getting a nice weight. This is the first harvest. So the first flush is looking like this. And we got some third flushes going over here. Let's go over there and check it out. But yeah, it's basically growing very good. We are keeping the CO2, the humidity and the temperature levels in the right amount. So you see here, this is a third flush we got on the bag. We are still waiting a bit to harvest it, but it is possible to get more flushes. But it's just very important that you maintain the hygiene very high, so that it doesn't contaminate the whole area that you're growing in. We have some mushrooms ready for harvest here. If we are going deeper into the containers, you can see here we got some issues. Probably the climate was not on point. And all the pins we got here is basically not looking very good, because it looks like they have been strangled. They have been out of air or something like that. So it's basically all the way down the same. We increased the airflow, so hopefully it's gonna get better now inside this container, but it's not so good. But we increased the temperature and the airflow. So hopefully now it's gonna get much better in here. I'm gonna give you a small update if the reason was the CO2. So now I'm gonna show you a bit about, I've shown you a lot of the videos from the first 3 containers we are operating the mushroom production in. This is the 5 new containers that we got to grow in. So I'm just gonna show you how it goes and a little update from each container. So the first The first 2 containers is basically gonna be growing containers, and we already set up the airflow in it. So it's heating up itself, and it's maintaining a stable temperature in here now. Today we're gonna clean this hole down and put a lot of chlorine on it, clean it down again, and then we're gonna mount the new trolleys that we got. So hopefully within the coming week, this is gonna be filled out with mushroom bags as well. So the 5th container, it's basically the same, but in this container we are not ready with the trolleys or anything yet. So we are just gonna wipe it down, clean it out, and then the infrastructure is basically ready for us to just put in trolleys and then put in bags as soon as we are ready with it. We're gonna wait a bit with it because it's gonna be for December and January, usually not that busy months. So hopefully we're gonna amp everything up in February. This is basically just a storage. This is a machine that we got that can mix the bags and the mycelium for us. We will see if it works, and yeah, we will see. We will update you in future videos as well. So the second last container is basically just for storage as well. Here we're having the straw pellets we're using for the mixture of the oyster mushrooms. And in the last container we are doing some incubation. So this is an incubation container. It's basically just incubating the bags, getting ready before flowering them in the containers. This is basically how it's going right now. It's still winter in Denmark. It's cold, very cold, but the snow just melted, so we can finally move the trolleys back and forth without lifting them with our machine. Yeah, so it just makes everything better when there's not snow and ice everywhere. Over here, we are just having the compost pile of all the grow bags that we are growing in. So we are removing the plastic, of course, and then we are putting all this nice, healthy compost with a lot of nutrients and energy in it. We are taking that and we are putting it on the field, and hopefully we can increase the yield of the farmer that are growing. I don't know what he's growing, but he's growing something on the field, and we hope that we can increase his yields. We will see, we don't know, but that's also an interesting project.